Hey guys, so today we're going to look at a direct comparison of some games in Windows versus games on the same machine in Linux. So let's go. Alright guys, so as part of my 30 Days in Linux series I'm doing, I wanted to do a direct comparison between gaming in Windows versus gaming in Linux on the same hardware using the same games. If you guys like videos like that and want to see more in the 30 Days in Linux series or any of the other videos we do, hit the subscribe button so you get notified when those come out. So the machine that we're trying it on is a custom built machine with a i5 3450 processor running at 310 gigahertz. That's a older processor, but it still works really well for gaming and my uses. 16 gigabytes of RAM and a GTX 1070 video card with 8 gigs of RAM on that. The operating systems we're using are Windows 10 with all the latest updates and patches and NVIDIA driver as of April 12th, 2017. And the version of Linux that we're using is Budgie Remix, which is Ubuntu Budgie now really, but we're using the 16.04 version, so that's the long-term support version, again with all the latest updates and patches and the proprietary NVIDIA driver as of 4/12/2017. All the games are native, downloaded through Steam, and run on the same hardware. So let's get into the comparison. Alright guys, so the first game we're going to look at is Minecraft. So the settings on Minecraft, I did 25 chunks, full screen at 1080p, and turn VSync off. Everything else is the default. So in Windows, without recording, we're getting 120 to 200 frames per second, depending on how much is going on the screen. With recording in OBS, that drops down to 85 to 130, but still way above the 60 frames per second. In Linux, we're getting about 110 to 200 without recording, and recording with simple screen recorder, we're getting 80 to 100 frames per second. So Minecraft, whether you play in Linux or Windows, it's basically the same. You know, just a little fluctuation, but pretty much the same. Moving on to Witcher 2. This is at high settings, again with VSync off and motion blur off. So in Windows, without recording, it's getting 90 to 190 frames per second. And the interesting thing is, recording with GameStream, we're getting the same thing, 90 to 190 frames per second. In Linux, it's a little bit lower. It's 60 to 180 frames per second. And then when recording with simple screen recorder, it's 50 to 130. So between Windows and Linux, without the recording, Windows was 90 to 190, Linux is 60 to 180. So they're pretty close as well. There's not much difference there. 7 Days to Die at high settings, VSync off, motion blur off. There was a pretty large discrepancy between Windows and Linux on this one. So in Windows, without recording, we're getting between 105 and 140 frames per second. With recording with GameStream, we're getting 90 to 130, so it drops a little bit there. That's to be expected with recording. In Linux, though, that same 105 to 140 that we got in Windows without recording, we're only getting 60 to 80 frames per second in Linux. So there's a significant drops there. And then with the recording with simple screen recorder, that drops down to 50 to 60 frames per second. The good thing is I didn't really see it drop below 60, but there's a significant difference between Linux and Windows there. Saints Row 4, high settings, VSync off. We're getting, in Windows, without recording, we're getting about 85 to 120 frames per second. And GameStream, we're getting 70 to 120. So while I'm recording, I'm getting 70 to 120, so not much drop there. In Linux, this is another very large discrepancy. So we're getting 40 to 70 frames per second without recording. And with recording, we're getting 20 to 70. So that 85 to 120 that we're getting in Windows drops down to 40 to 70 in Linux with the same settings. Ark on high, again, motion blur off, VSync off. In Windows, we're getting 60 to 70, so Ark is not a very well optimized game. It's always a little bit on the low end. Windows, we're getting 60 to 70 without recording, and with recording, it's about the same. Linux, we're getting 45 to 70 without recording, and with recording, we're getting 30 to 50. So that Windows 60 to 70, Linux 45 to 70, it's not too much difference there. They're both very close. All right, guys, so there you go. As you can see, gaming in Linux is really, really solid. There is very few games where you get a significant drop in Linux over Windows. Two of them we looked at in this review were 7 Days to Die and Saints Row 4. I'm not sure what the discrepancy there is between those two games, but the other ones we looked at, Minecraft, Ark, Witcher 2, and the majority of the games that I've tried that I didn't include in this video have been so close that unless you're sitting side by side with somebody with Windows with the same hardware, you're really not going to notice a difference. If you're a competitive gamer or a super hardcore gamer, go with Windows. There's more games on Windows. They're consistently a little faster frame rate. Sometimes, you know, there's a large increase in frame rate over Linux. But if you're a casual gamer, you're not, you're a semi-hardcore gamer, and the games that are in Linux are the ones that you want to play, there's really no reason to buy Windows over those Linux games. Even the ones that have significant drop, they're still well within the playable range. So unless you're, you know, a frame rate snob, or you really, you know, you need to push, you know, 120 frames per second or something, it's not really going to bother you all that much. So guys, I hope you found this informative and useful. Please rate and subscribe and leave comments below if you want to see other games that I didn't include. Feel free to leave those in the description, and maybe I'll do another video to compare some other games head to head. If there's any other software or anything that you want a comparison head to head between Windows and Linux, let me know that as well. And you guys can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram. I am on Telegram now, so feel free to reach out to me on there as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.